Hello, this is Skylit Lake reading Wine and Dine in Spite by Midoriya Izuku. Chapter 5 Sunlit Days. She's never been particularly close with her siblings, not since Toya passed, not since Mum left. Whether that be because she was the only girl in a house full of men, or because she was the only responsible one, or because she was the only member of this dysfunctional family who has ever made an effort to attempt to fix it. It didn't matter. So no, she wasn't close with her siblings, much less with her father. That is the one thing that made the arrival of Izuku Midoriya so quizzical, so interesting, because she may not be close with her siblings, but she had learned out of survival to read them like a book. To read every micro-expression of every mannerism and every hint of emotion that any of them showed. She had learned to tell their mood off by their footsteps, to find their problems off their fingers. It didn't make sense for Shouto to have a boyfriend, and yet Izuku Midoriya stands before her with a light in his eyes that she has never seen in anyone his age, not like she has many people to compare him with. She's wiping at the kitchen table, her father and Midoriya himself caught in a conversation she can't hear in the kitchen, when Shouto approaches her with his signature silence. "Oh, Shouto, hello, shouldn't you be with Izuku?" He insists on washing the dishes, he says, sitting down on a nearby chair, and as much as I would not want him to, he refuses to do otherwise. Shouto takes one of the rags in a cleaning bucket and begins to wipe down the other side of the table. Fumi breaks the silence suddenly. "He's sweet," she says. "Your boyfriend, that is. He's really nice." Shouto stops moving for a moment before he glances at the hallway to the kitchen. Yeah, he is. He didn't look it that much on the TV, you know? With the obstacle course and the battles, he just looked like someone who's very determined, but not necessarily kind. His string of tension hangs in the air. "Like father?" No, not like father," she says immediately. Like Toya." The tension thickens, and they fall silent again. "That doesn't tell me much, and you know it." Fumi's breath hitches as she mentally curses herself for bringing up the topic of their late brother. It's a bad habit of hers, trying to talk about him when she shouldn't bring him up, when there's no need to. He was just very passionate, is all. Just in a reckless way. He was always looking for a father's attention, but I don't think he was ever too happy. At least that's what I can remember about him. Not that it matters right now. The silence comes back and stretches on. "I worry about him sometimes," says Shouto absent-mindedly, folding the tablecloth. "About Toya?" "About Izuku." "It makes sense," agrees Fumi. "He's self-sacrificial, almost as if he thinks himself as a tool to use rather than as a person. I'm scared that one day he'll save everyone and no one will be there to save him." "And that's why Why I want to be there when he needs me." Shouto falls silent at that moment, as does she. Can I ask you something outside all of this?" "What do you mean by all of this?" Her brother's eyes widen for a second before they go back to their regular expression. "Never mind. Just, can I ask you something?" "Okay, sure." Why do you think it is that I worry so much about him?" What do you mean? I've never felt this before. Such a strong need to protect a specific person. I've always known I wanted to be a hero, that I wanted to help people. But I never felt this way for someone. This need to make sure they're safe at all times. Why? Oh, Shouto. Her brother looks up at her for a moment before his gaze turns back to his hands. He looks utterly out of place and confused, yet it warms something Fumi's heart. You're in love, she says, because it is really that simple. Love really is that simple, at least to a pair of siblings who have no good indicator of it. In love? He asks. His eyes are wide and wondrous, like he's seeing a sunset for the first time, like they looked back when he was a baby, like they looked the first time he saw fire from Toya's own hand. It's not something I'm very familiar with. I'm the wrong person to ask about this, she says in all honesty, but I imagine that's what love must be. Shouto looks like he wants to say something for a second, like there's an itch that he needs to get rid of, and that he can only get rid of if he talks to her. His hands twitch at his sides, the way they do when he has something to say, and his mouth opens slightly beginning to enunciate a word. His eyes spark with something, and his brows furrow somewhere between confusion, fear, and anxiety. But then, the moment is gone, and Shouto is back to his usual vacant self. His lips twitch into something that attempts to be a smile. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Good night, sis. Fumi stares at him for a moment, emotions still on her lips and hand twitching at her side. She gives up on her attempt to get him to talk more, because she believes it, at least for a second, believes that this very well is Shouto's boyfriend. After all, she has never seen her brother look at someone with that much emotion in his eyes, nor has she ever seen anyone look at her brother with the amount of violent protectiveness that she can feel hangs just under Izuku's skin. She sees the way Shouto hangs around Izuku, the way he looks at the boy like he personally hung the sun, moon, stars, and the planets. It's magical to a degree. She sees the way Izuku interacts with Shouto, the way tension and anxiety linger in his shoulders until Shouto is next to him, the way he looks ready to jump for him at the moment's notice. It's very romantic, in her opinion, but then she starts noticing the little things. The way Izuku stutters out Shouto's name, the way there's always an inch of space between them, as if they can't bear the thought of being separated, yet neither can they possibly think of touching. She notices the way that Izuku seems nervous when stuttering out answers about their relationship, the way Shouto avoids speaking of their relationship at all. Something is off here. She can quite tell what it is. "Good night, Shouto," she says. She speaks up again when he's at the door, halfway out of the room. "Take care of him, okay? No matter what's going on." "Okay," he mutters absent-mindedly. Shouto sleeps like he's in the middle of waking up, Izuku realizes. It's late, very late, far later than he should be awake at, far later than would be healthy for anyone with his sleep and exercise schedule, or for anyone reasonable in all honesty. Regardless, he definitely should not be awake. He had woken up 15 minutes ago, the result of a nightmare about Shigaraki, an ever-plaguing evil, and a fear he is unfortunately so far unable to tone down. Sweat had stuck his hair to his forehead, blood rushing in his ears, and heartbeat so loud he swore it would wake up Shouto. And that was precisely what had made him remember where he is, who he's with, and what him being there meant. He rolls onto his right shoulder, facing Shouto and quietly observing him. He must look like a freak right now. What kind of person would watch over his friend while he sleeps and just think about him? Is this a weird thing to do? It's probably a weird thing to do. He can't say it doesn't calm him though. Shouto runs naturally with a weird temperature. Despite any thought you may have, he's always either too hot or too cold. Izuku considered asking him about it, but that would mean involving an uncomfortable conversation about what it means for him to have spent so long thinking about the way Shouto sleeps, to have generated genuine questions with legitimate concerns, and things he wants to know about him. All things considered, Izuku enjoys watching Shouto sleep sometimes. His face softens and his eyes barely twitch. When he's asleep, Shouto's troubles and problems and complicated family issues abandon his face and makes him look truly at peace. He doesn't smile when he's asleep, not the way Ochako or Kominari does, nor does he frown the way Kachan does, but rather his face looks utterly fragile, like new and paper-thin porcelain freshly out of the oven. Izuku has never touched Shouto, has never given into the urge to feel that porcelain skin with his own fingers, the urge to feel all the textures and feelings and temperatures that came with feeling Shouto, because that would be weird and creepy of him. Kachan is right on this one thing, so he doesn't reach out. He places a hand in between the two of them and lets it rest there, feeling the closeness of his hand to Shouto's exposed arm. But he doesn't dare to reach out because of all of this that he has with Shouto is fragile, and a hand is not worth reaching for. His mother's room is fairly cold, the way it has been every time he has ever sought to visit her. He and Izuku had travelled here about 30 minutes ago, after Izuku had stressed out for an additional hour not only about what they would look like to his mother, but also whether or not he would make a good impression on her. Shouto had reassured him that no matter what, Izuku was incapable of making bad impressions on anyone, and that his mother would be delighted to meet him no matter what the circumstance. Izuku had stressed out regardless, much to Shouto's dismay. It didn't matter much in the end, considering the fact that there had barely been enough time for Izuku to even think about changing a lot about himself. It was perfectly okay. Shouto liked Izuku better when he was himself after all. You're in love. He hasn't stopped thinking about what Fumi said last night. This whole thing about Shouto being in love. He's never been in love with anyone, not even those child crushes his classmates talk about. He doesn't think he is in love. He doesn't even know if he is in love. The brush of Izuku's hands against his broke him out of his thoughts, and he decided to postpone that line of thought for a further time. He doesn't care whether or not he's in love right now, only that Izuku and him are going somewhere, and he needs to be there alongside the green-haired boy. They arrive at the hospital very shortly, where Shouto left Izuku in the waiting room, which is how he finds himself where he is now, in his mother's room. It's gotten better talking to his mother, that is. He thinks that maybe making an effort to talk to her may have contributed to them being a little better. Still, she has all of the softness in her eyes that he's come to see her develop, yet still carries the pain that the years have left the two of them. As he said, it's getting better, but they're not without flaws. Shouto, oh my Shouto! His mother begins, reaching out towards him with her yarn-wrapped hands. "Hi, Mum," he says. His mother looks him over and runs her fingers across his cheekbones. "Every week you seem to get taller, my love." Shouto smiles at her and brings her in for a hug. Her delicate frame against his broad shoulders and lean muscles create an indescribable contrast that he treasures. "It's lovely to see you, Shouto." "You too, Mother." They sit, his mother on her bedspread and him on her little side chair by the desk. It's quiet, their conversation as he updates her on things that have been going on in his life, about his classes and his activities and his extracurriculars. And it's nice, all of this, being able to talk to his mother and being able to directly interact with her. But then he remembers he's not the only one here. He didn't come here alone. He doesn't have to be alone. "Mum, I have something to ask you," he says. His mother pauses what she's saying and instead just stares at him. Her eyes soften and her expression relaxes into something Shouto can only describe as curiosity and concern. "That's okay, honey. I'll answer the best I can." And Shouto knows what he's gonna say. It's very simple. He just has to ask if she would like to meet Izuku, if she would like to meet the boy who saved him, if she would like to meet the boy who has stood up with him against and for him. One of the only people who Shouto has ever wanted to get to know, to interest himself in. But then the words are spilling out of his mouth, and he doesn't know why he's saying it, and his mind is going too fast, and the sentence is past his lips before he can realize what he's saying. "How do I know if I'm in love?" His mother looks at him for a second before she folds her hands to her lap and tilts her head in question. "That's an odd question, Shouto. You've never even asked anything like this. Did something happen?" And Shouto, despite all his training, despite having been created to be painless and fearless, despite having been made to be void of any emotion, he can't possibly bring himself to tell the truth. To tell his mother about the boy on the other side of the door, whose average courage and worth make Shouto's look like that of an aloof cat. "It's not important," he says, because that's all that his aloof cat heart will allow him to say. "I just need to know." His mother's face turns pensive and in deep consideration of Shouto's request. Of all she's just been told, she hums thoughtfully and drums her fingers on the book by her side. Some small and mostly insignificant thing she likes to read whenever she has nothing to do. Evidently her favorite. "In love," she begins. "That's a funny word, isn't it?" "Is it?" asks Shouto. "To love someone is a very difficult thing to explain," she says, pausing her speech and looking Shouto in the eye. "I'm not sure if I have the answers you're looking for, Shouto. Because I never really loved Denji." "No?" "No," she says quietly, closing her eyelids softly. "But I did love 3 other boys." "3?" he says, surprised. "And a girl," says his mother. She smiles with all the softness only a mother could have. "My children." Shouto stares at his mother with intensity. He hasn't quite yet stomached it, the concept of being loved by his mother, by anyone for that matter. "I can't tell you what it means to love, not romantically, but I can tell you what it feels like to love someone." She pulls the book she's holding closer to her and runs the back of her hand across its cover. "It's a finicky thing, a bit of a contradiction, if you will," she says. "Sometimes it's so fragile you feel yourself slip away from them, and it feels like there's a void between you that will never be even close to being bridged. Sometimes it's so strong you're overwhelmed with the urge to reach out to them and never let go, to hold onto them and protect them from everything you fear or everything they fear. It's there for you when you need it. Love. When you feel like you're stuck in between a rock and a hard place, it's there for you. When you feel like you're breaking apart and you consider if this is all worth it. When you lose yourself and don't know who you are, it's there for you. It seems absolutely pointless sometimes, like all this effort you're putting will be worth anything in the end. But then you see their smile and you hear their laugh and they look at you like you're everything in the world to them. And you think that maybe, just maybe, it will all be okay. That maybe in the end, when it comes down to the two of you, that every ounce of love that you have ever felt for them will let you go back to them. Shouto's mother finishes with her eyes locked onto his face, gazing at him through the warmth in her eyes and anything in between them that might still be left over. All that matters is that you love who you want to, that you love who you can have by your side when it matters. Shouto stares at her, at his mother who she is the spitting image of, his mother who despite everything that has happened still loves him with all her heart, his mother who has yet to meet the person who will be at his side when it matters. And that brings him back to Izuku. Everything always seems to bring him back to Izuku, to the boy he can't ever seem to forget or stop thinking about, the boy who has stuck around despite Shouto having been everything from a jealous rival to a lovesick puppy to him. Izuku, who came to his mind when he had to think about who would be his boyfriend. Izuku, who makes him get butterflies whenever he stands too close to Shouto, who makes his heart race and his temperature spike. Shouto thinks back to everything his mother has just said about love, about what it means to love, about how maybe this intense feeling of protectiveness and this feeling of being able to fully trust him has an explanation, about how this is what it means to love. Oh, am I in love with him? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is such a sweet chapter. Sorry about the audio quality, it's been very windy and very it's been hailing, raining, things have been blown apart. The weather's quite of a mess where I am right now. But either way, it's just been so fun recording this chapter. It's so sweet, so soft, it just oozes just calm, relaxing day, maybe snuggled next to a fireplace and just hearing someone talk. That's always a good day for me. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll see you guys later. Bye!